Okay. All right. We got audience. Good afternoon. Wow. It's like I have to look up to make sure I'm here, pinch myself. There's people in the building. So good to see everyone here. Good afternoon and welcome to February 8, 2022 Regina Planning Commission meeting. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional lands of the Treaty 4 territory, a treaty signed with 35 First Nations across southern Saskatchewan and parts of the Alberta and Manitoba, and the original lands of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dakota, Nakota, Lakota, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. Some members of the Commission and City Administration are attending the meeting today through video conferencing. I would like to remind those members who are attending through video conferencing of the following. Please ensure that your video camera and microphones are turned off. If a member of a commission wishes to speak, use the raised hand function to be placed in the speaking queue. So Ms. Wilson, for you, if you want to speak, you just push the button. Okay, you're in person. Thank you. When speaking, remember to unmute your microphone and enable your video camera, and all votes will be conducted with a recorded vote. Delegations will be attending the meeting today in person and or through teleconferencing to address the Commission on different items on the agenda. The report will be considered by City Council on its meeting schedule for March 16th, and the new deadline to register as a delegation for the City Council meeting is 1 p.m. on Thursday, March 10, 2022. Thank you. Can I have someone to approve the agenda? Councillor Charles, thank you. Anyone opposed? I see none. That is carried. Thank you. Can I get someone to adopt the minutes from February 8, 2022? Thank you. Okay. Ms. Wilson, thank you very much. Anyone opposed? Any omissions? Any additions? Any issues with the minutes? I gotta make sure I look at the screen and around me. I see none. Anyone opposed? Carried. Okay, we will move into RPC 22-6, zoning bylaw amendment, the town's phase 2. And we have delegation appearing in person. Ms. Kathy Lawrence, if I could ask you to come to the delegation table. And then I'll give you a microphone, just 1 second. Please introduce yourself for the record, organization you are representing, if any, and where you are calling from. Afterwards, maybe, and you have 5 minutes, and maybe questions from the commission. Microphone is on, I believe.
Sorry, 22-2, is that concept plan and zoning amendment one?
Are we going to... I've got the town's phase first one. I have is RPC 22-6, town's plan phase 2.
Oh, okay, 22-6.
That's the first one on the slate. So you have a microphone. Whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon, Commission. I am Kathy Lawrence. I am with Terra Developments, and I'm here representing the town subdivision. The application before you is a proposal to rezone areas in phase 2 of the towns. This rezone is as per the approved concept plan, and the areas in question can be referred to on Appendix A1. The subject area is within the red dotted lines. Specifically, the ask is to rezone the following areas. Block 36, 37, and a portion of 38 to residential urban holdings. Parcel L to high-rise zone, which will be suitable for a future multi-family condo type of build. Parcels J4, J5 to mixed low-rise zone. This one's a bit of a housekeeping as a property line adjustment was triggered from the concept plan amendment done last July. These small slivers of land require a rezone to ML and will be incorporated to the already existing and serviced J1 and J3 parcels. And then parcels W5 and W6 to be rezoned to public service zone. These areas are the walking paths to connect to the future multi-use pathways along Woodland Grove Drive. There was a total of 4 responses from public circulation, with 1 in support and 3 had identified issues. The issues brought up were surrounding density, potential building forms, traffic, parking, and parks and recreation. Administration's responses to these concerns were on point, and we would agree with what was noted in the report. And I'm happy to answer any questions Commission might have.
Great, thank you very much. Looks like in person works better. You're way on the time. Thank you. I will, any member of the commission have a question for the delegation? To remember to look at the screen as well. Looks like we have no questions. You're clear. So Ms. Lawrence, you might as well just stay where you are. I'm gonna mute your microphone because you're coming up next. So might as well, no point of throwing you out of the chair and come back again. So you just hang tight. Okay. Can I have someone to move the recommendation? Councillor Shaw? Okay, Ms. Bryden, can I turn it over to you to give a little bit of a summary of report, and I'll give you a microphone. Where are you? 4. There.
Thank you, through the chair. So for this report, Terra Developments, acting on behalf of the City of Regina, proposes to rezone part of the town's Phase 2 from urban holding to residential urban and residential high-rise zones, and minor parcels to public service and mixed low-rise zones. This proposal is shown in Appendix A1. And rezoning to a suitable zone is necessary for any development to proceed in this area. And the application aligns with the town's concept plan, and we recommend in favor of the application.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bryden. Any questions to the administration from the committee? Members of the committee, any questions to the administration? Question, comments? Thank you very much. It looks straightforward. So, Madam Clerk, could you please call the vote, please? Do I give you microphones? Okay,
Whatever you call us. Did we have somebody move it? I'll
Yes,
move it.
Councillor Shadow.
Yeah, I think I moved it. Yes. Okay, Mr. Aston,
In favor?
Mr. Boykowski,
In favor.
Mr. Dawes,
In favor.
Ms. Hagan,
In favor.
Ms. Moreau,
In favor.
Ms. York,
In favor.
Ms. Wilson,
In favor.
Councillor Shaw,
In favor.
and Councillor Finjura.
In favor.
The motion passes unanimously 9-0.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Okay, let's move on. RPC 22-7, proposed concept plan and zoning bylaw amendment, part of 3000 Woodland Grove. Ms. Lawrence, you're already in your spot, so I would ask you again to, I'm gonna tell us your name, who you're representing, and if any, are you calling from right from here? So I'm gonna ask you that. You have 5 minutes, go ahead. I'll give you a microphone. Hang on, too many other activities now going on.
Good afternoon. Kathy Lawrence here again. I'm with Terra Developments and representing the town subdivision for a second application today. This item before you is for a concept plan amendment along with a rezone for areas also in Phase 2 of the towns. To provide some context of the area, I will again refer you to map on Appendix A1 of this package. Phase 2 is defined as the area between Buckingham Drive and Aaron's Road, and the area in discussion is noted within the red dotted line. The proposed changes for the concept plan are a reconfiguring of some blocks and changing the designations from medium to low density and vice versa. Specifically, the changes are as follows. Portions of Block 38 facing Greenbrook Road, Blocks 40 and 43 facing Aaron's Road, and Block 41 on Ferndale Crescent are being proposed to change from medium density to low density. And then portions of Block 43 on Ferndale Crescent is being proposed to change from low density to medium density. These changes will allow for a greater mix within the streetscapes and allow for combinations of duplexes and triplexes on one side of the street and single family on the other side. These changes are compatible and consistent with what is currently built in Phase 1 of the development. The proposed changes for the rezone are to take these units from urban holdings and to rezone them to RU for the low density designated blocks and then RL for the medium density areas. And of course, blocks 40 and portions of 43 will require the lane access overlay. As noted in the administrative report, these zones, along with the proposed housing forms, will still allow for adequate on-street parking and maximize on-site parking. Understanding that these parking numbers are still a little bit fluid, we are projecting there will be around 4.89 parking stalls per lot, plus upwards of around 300 on-street parking within the subject area. There also will be more areas for storing garbage bins and recycling bins, as the majority of these homes are being proposed with front garages. The street widths will remain consistent to all areas already built, which are nice and wide and allow for both on-street parking and vehicle activity. With approval today and along with City Council approvals, these areas will be able to be developed as the market requires. I'm happy to have any questions you might have.
Thank you very much. That's good. Okay, any questions from the commission? Going once. Any questions from the commission? Ms. Lawrence, looks like you made yourself clear. Thank you very much for presenting. So now you may go back into the gallery or whatever we want to call it, an audience. Not used to this, got to remember that. And now we will, okay, can I get someone to move the recommendation? Councilor Shaw? Oh, who was that? Maybe we'll give someone.
That's Frank Rogowski.
Thank you, Mr. Borkowski. Thank you very much. Okay, Ms. Bryden, can I ask you to introduce the report again? Thank you. Oh, fine, I'll get you a microphone. There you are.
Thank you, through the chair. This report would see the applicant, Terra Developments, acting on behalf of the current owner, being the City of Regina, proposes to amend the town's concept plan by reconfiguring the land uses as shown in the Appendix A3 in the report. Subject to the approval of the concept plan, the applicant also proposes to amend the zoning bylaw by rezoning the lots to various residential zones to accommodate low and medium density residential development. The proposed amendment includes reconfiguring the land uses within the subject property, rezoning the lots from urban holding to residential zones, and apply lane access overlay zone to parts of the subject property. Administration reviewed the impact of the proposed concept plan and the zoning bylaw amendment, including the application of the overlay zone, and have determined that there is negligible impact on the projected population and the character of the town's concept plan area. Furthermore, rezoning to appropriate residential zones is required to develop the town's neighborhood. Additionally, the proposed development maintains the urban character of the neighborhood. Thus, we recommend in favor of the applications.
Thank you very much, Ms. Brighton. Okay, any questions for the administration? One more time. Any questions or comments? Any questions for the administration on this report? Okay, Madam Clerk, would you call the vote, please?
Mr. Boykowski?
In favor.
Mr. Dawes?
In favor.
Ms. Hagan?
In favor.
Ms. Moreau?
In favor.
Ms. York?
In favor.
Mr. Aston?
In favor.
Ms. Wilson?
In favor.
Counselor Shaw?
In favor.
And Counselor Finjura.
In favor.
The vote passes unanimously 9-0.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, let's move along here. Let's move to RPC 22-8, discretionary use application for 3810 Chuka Boulevard. We have a delegation that is on the phone. Do we have him there yet? Okay, we'll just give him a second. He's in? Okay. Mr. Jeff Ballin, you there?
Yes.
Okay, so please introduce yourself for the record, the organization you represent, and if any, and where are you calling from, please?
My name is Jeff Allen. I'm calling from Saskatoon, and I'm representing, I'm a traffic engineer responsible for doing the traffic impact assessment for the proposed Tim Hortons and retail unit on Green Falls and Chuka Boulevard.
Okay, go ahead. You have 5 minutes. Afterwards, there may be questions from the commission. Go ahead.
I have no formal presentation. I'm just here to answer any questions if they're required. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions from the commission? Going to give a few more minutes here, a second or two. Any questions for the delegation? It's about the traffic. Oh, there we go. Mr. Aston, go ahead.
Great, thank you. Through the chair, I just had a question, I guess. In general terms, what would the trip generation for a restaurant like this be allowed for typically from a traffic engineer perspective? And then I'll have a follow-up based on that answer, I guess.
Mr. Bellin, go ahead.
The trip generated, we break it down in two different ways. One is the afternoon peak hour, and one is the morning peak hour. For Tim Hortons, the morning peak hour is the highest trip generated. In this case, we have a total of 568 trips that would generate to this new development.
Okay, Mr. Aston?
Okay, thank you. Through the chair. So thank you for that. So in kind of layman's terms, what would Chuka Boulevard be built for in terms of number of trips in that same kind of time frame? Would it be, could you characterize that, I guess?
Mr. Bellin?
Yeah, Chuka Boulevard's a major arterial roadway. It's designed to handle all of the traffic from that neighborhood and funnel it to Arcola. So it's designed to handle that type of volume and then some, into thousands of, probably roughly, ballpark 1,100 vehicle per hour per lane. So it's a 4-lane divided cross section. So it's got ample trip generation, capacity rather.
Thank you. No further questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Aston. Anyone else from the commission? Question for the delegation? Okay. Mr. Ballin, thank you very much for taking the time to call in to take at least one question or two. Thank you very much. You may leave the meeting. Thank you. Okay, our next delegation in person is Mr. Kevin Reese. Can you come to the delegation table, please? I'll give you a microphone. So the same thing, Mr. Reed, please introduce yourself for the record. Any organization you represent, if any, and I was told, and where you calling from, so you might as well say where you are. You have 5 minutes, and afterwards there'll be questions from the commission. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairperson and members of the Regina Planning Commission. My name is Kevin Reese. I'm the president of Carina Developments, and I am the general manager for the Greens on Gardner development. Thank you for allowing me to present to you today. Greens on Gardner Development Corporation owns Parcel P, which is the parcel of land where the proposed accessory drive-through will be located. We are here to support the discretionary use application. I would like to thank the City of Regina administration for preparing an excellent report. Pages 6, 7, and 8 concisely summarizes the applicant's proposed land use and site, and the site complies in every respect with all of the unique features of the DCD CBM zone. Furthermore, the traffic impact assessment demonstrates that traffic impacts do not conflict with on-site circulation, access, and public infrastructure. The applicant has prepared a very good site plan and obviously worked very hard with the city administration to develop a plan that works. We believe it is time for the properties along the west side of Chuka Boulevard to develop. Regina has the opportunity to be the first community in Canada to have Tim Hortons' new environmentally friendly concept restaurant. Let's put Regina on the map. We respectfully request that the Regina Planning Commission concurs with the administration's recommendation for council to approve the application at its meeting on March the 16th, 2022. Thank you for your time, and I'd be pleased to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reese. Any question from the commission to the delegation? Any questions from the commission? Mr. Reese, looks like you made yourself clear. Thank you very much for giving us your presence, first time in a couple of years
Yeah,
in the chambers.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next we have appearing in person, our delegation. We have Mike DeStassi and Caitlin Brown. Can you please come to the delegation, and I'll give you a microphone. So pick either chair. Who wants to go first, whatever? You're gonna go on that side? Okay. And again, please introduce yourself for the record, the organization you're representing, if any, and I guess the thing is where you're calling from, where are you from? You have 5 minutes. Afterwards, there may be questions from the commission. Mr. Sassi, go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon, members of the Regina Planning Commission and the City of Regina Administration. My name is Mike DeStassi, and I'm the applicant for the report before you, RPC 22-8, discretionary use application located at 3810 Chuka Boulevard. With me today is Caitlin Brown, a consultant on this project, and we are here to support the report and recommendations put forth by administration and answer any questions you may have regarding this project. In June of 2021, we began talking with the city administration about this property. At the time, the adjacent property owner was in the process of applying for a zoning amendment to the DCD CBM zoning. We were able to work alongside that applicant, and with the passing of the zoning amendment in November of 2021, our project took one step closer to almost being something that could exist. In the hopes of the zoning amendment being successful, we submitted a discretionary use application for a food and beverage, restaurant, and drive-through accessory this past September. We have consulted, investigated, revamped, and reviewed back and forth with our team of professionals and the city administration team to land where we have, with a project we really believe in. The goal is to have this location be a flagship Tim Hortons, the first of its kind and a testing grounds for new sustainable initiatives right here in Regina. We are excited to know that some of these things that we test could be incorporated into hundreds or thousands of TIMs all across Canada. This project is possible for us because we have the opportunity to own the land. Typically, our locations and those across Canada are owned by major developers and are rarely our franchisees in a position to have the option to own the land they work from. For us, this development is a long-term plan. We've been operating Tim Hortons in Regina for over 20 years and hope that as a second-generation family business, that our kids can make it a third-generation business. As part of our design process, we went through a number of site plan options. Some of those site plans were able to provide more commercial area, reduce the land required for the drive-through, and likely provide us with a better return on investment. However, those plans did not meet the goals and the intent of the zone. They interrupted the pedestrian sidewalk, they dismantled the Chuka Boulevard interface, and did not add to the built environment of the community. The plan we have before you meets the intent of the zone. It provides a 3-meter wide sidewalk through the property connecting the city sidewalk at Chuka Boulevard and Green Falls Drive with the adjacent parcel. We've also consulted with the neighboring property owner to ensure that our sidewalk is able to align with their development plans. The plan is a result of feedback received from design professionals, administration, and our experience as operators. As part of the review process, City Administration required a traffic impact assessment to review the impacts of the surrounding road network. Mr. Balin, our traffic engineer, was here today as the author of that report, and I hope he was able to answer your questions regarding traffic. The report found that with the addition of this development, the existing infrastructure was able to continue operating within the accepted city requirements. This new location for us will create 35 new jobs. Some of our current team members who live in the area are eager to transfer to this new location. This will give them and our new hires the option to live and work in the same community, which in turn will open up jobs at other locations for residents who might live closer to those stores. In addition to the public consultation administered by the city, standard with all discretionary use applications, we launched a virtual open house website for residents and the community to learn more about the project, and the responses have been amazing. We've had over 4,000 visits to the website. We've had 73 people submit feedback or questions, and the majority of them have been positive. This was consistent with the results of the city's consultation process, where they received 47 responses, with nearly 90% supporting this proposal. We have taken the approach to listen to residents, and I've had numerous phone calls and emails with residents to help answer questions that they've had. That won't stop. I hope that with the recommendation for approval from RPC and the final approval from City Council, I can discuss what we will do as opposed to what we hope to do. While the pictures of the project show intent, there is a real design that needs to occur to make that a reality. As a family, we take pride in being involved in the community, sending local kids to camp and raising money for local initiatives. My brother and I grew up walking distance from this site. We played pond hockey in the farmers' fields as kids. In fact, I even learned how to drive a standard on the gravel road that went through this development. And now we hope to put our University of Regina educations to use by operating a business here. I would like to thank you for your time and consideration this afternoon. If there are any questions, we'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Destasi. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very good. I will turn it over to the commission. Any questions for the delegation? You made it really clear. I can see that. I'm clear. Any questions? Anyone else? I'll give you a couple more seconds. Looks like we're not. We're good. Thank you very much. Again, welcome to the City Hall, to Henry Baker.
Thank you.
You see some people, right? Thank you very much. Okay, can I have someone to move the recommendation, please? No one else is speaking? Okay, Councillor Shaw. All right, I'll give you that one. Councillor Shaw, thank you very much. Right on. Okay, Ms. Bryden, could I ask you to introduce the report, please? And I'll give you the microphone. There you are. Go ahead.
Thank you, through the chair. This report is related to a discretionary use application by Distasi Real Estate Limited, who proposes to develop a drive-through restaurant on the property at 3810 Chuka Boulevard. This land use is a discretionary land use in the DCD CBM Chuka Boulevard Mixed Direct Control District. That's a lot of acronyms. The Chuka Boulevard mixed-use zone is unique in the city and is only applied to 5 properties in the Greens on Gardner along the west side of Chuka Boulevard to the west of the Acre 21 development. As a bit of background, the zone was first approved in 2013 to create a unique pedestrian-oriented mixed-use environment in the Greens on Gardner. The zoning standards are more specific and design-oriented, unlike a conventional zone, which is more general and flexible in nature. The DCD CBM zone was last amended in September of 2021 to allow a drive-through for restaurants as discretionary use subject to specific criteria, which generally require that the drive-through aisles access must not conflict with required pedestrian sidewalk required by the DCD CBM zone. The drive-through queue space is buffered or oriented to protect existing or planned residential development on the site, and a traffic impact assessment is required to demonstrate the traffic impacts do not conflict with on-site circulation, access, and public infrastructure. Administration analyzed the application for compliance with these criteria and is satisfied that the development meets these requirements, along with the other requirements within the DCD zone, and have the following analysis. A transportation impact assessment included site-specific impacts including access and egress locations to ensure standards are met and are optimally located. There are no further impacts to city infrastructure. This would include extension of the physical barrier to prevent full turns access to the site. The proposed development does not compromise the unique design requirements of the DCD CBM zone, such as on-site pedestrian accommodations, required landscape or building orientation, and the development includes aesthetic screening which will mitigate the impact to any planned residential development to the west. Based on administration's assessment, the application is consistent with all general criteria. Administration recommends in favor of the application as the proposed development aligns with the OCP, Greens on Gardner concept plan, and the DCD CBM zone.
Brendan, thank you very much. Okay. Any questions for the administration? Any comments? Any questions for the administration? Anyone, any comments? I see none. Delegation, Senator Biden, very well introduced. No questions, so we move on. Madam Clerk, I'll give you a microphone. Can you call the vote, please?
Mr. Aston?
In favor?
Mr. Boykowski?
In favor.
Mr. Dawes?
In favor.
Ms. Hagan?
In favor.
Ms. Moreau?
In favor.
Ms. York?
In favor.
Ms. Wilson?
In favor.
Councillor Shaw?
In favor.
And Councillor Pinjura.
In favor.
The motion passes unanimously 9-0.
Thank you very much, everyone. Great. Okay. Oh, you might be home for supper yet. Optimistic, I guess. Okay, let's carry on. Next, we'll move into RPC 22-9, discretionary use application for 2723 Narcisse Drive. We have delegation phoning in. Freya Marchak, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Freya, please introduce yourself for the record, organization you are representing, if any, and where are you calling from. And you will have 5 minutes Afterwards, there may be a question from the commission. Go ahead.
Okay. My name is Freya Marchuk. I'm the operations manager for Northridge Development Corporation, and I'm calling from Regina. What we're proposing here is a 22-unit townhouse site. Each unit has an attached garage, so that should reduce the demand on on-street parking. And essentially, I am here to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Marchuk. I will ask the members of the commission if anyone has a question for the delegation. Discretionary use application 2723 Narcisse Drive. Any questions for the delegation? Ms. Marchuk, it looks like there's no questions. Thank you very much for joining us and willing to answer questions. You may leave the meeting now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Can I have someone to move the recommendation, please?
It's Celeste, I'll move it.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'll hand it over. Ms. Bryden, could you introduce the report, please?
Thank you. Through the chair. Northridge Developments is proposing to develop a 22-unit planned group of dwellings comprised of 4 townhouse buildings at 2723 Narcisse Drive within the Hawkstone neighborhood. The property is zoned residential high-rise zone and is identified for high-density residential within the Hawkstone concept plan. Each dwelling has 2 residential levels above a main floor garage. The application initially proposed to be a 4-story apartment building with 39 number of units. However, the original proposal received an overwhelmingly negative response by the Hawkstone area residents. About 200 people responded in opposition. The applicant decided to revise the application to the current proposal, which received substantially less concerns by area residents. The application is supported by OCP policies with respect to providing housing choice in neighborhoods and meets the relevant criteria of discretionary use approval. Accordingly, the administration recommends approval.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bryden. Any questions from the commission for the administration? Oh, Mr. Aston, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. My question to the administration through the chair is simply, this is a rather long dead-end row. I had a similar concern on a previous condo project. Is it certain that the fire service is okay with something like that? It's about 75 meters dead end where the fire truck would have to pull down and not be able to turn around. There's no turnaround access at the end. I know that's always been a concern when I've run into in the past on projects. And I just wanted to confirm that that was something that's definitely okay with them and been verified. So thank you very much.
Ms. Bryden, where do we direct that to?
I'll direct that to
Mr. Mario?
Mr. Mario.
Okay, Mr. Mario, go ahead.
Through the chair, we circulate all applications to our building standards branch and the fire and protective services branch, and neither of them indicated that concern, so that concern does not exist.
Mr. Aston?
Thank you very much.
Okay. Any further questions for the administration? Okay, just one second. Okay, what we got here? All right. Councillor Shaw, go ahead.
Just kind of a quick question through the chair. I remember the development of the 4-story apartment building, and then now they've changed everything. What type of feedback, or was there a survey, or was there feedback from the public? I mean, you said that it was good, but can you give me some details as to the feedback through the chair?
Ms. Bryden, where do we go to?
Thank you, through the chair. I can maybe start and then defer to Autumn. We received a total of 23 responses for the townhouse proposal, and 43% of them were opposed. 10 were completely opposed, and 7 were in full support. So that was substantially less feedback than the apartment concept, where we saw 98% opposed and 195 responses. Ms. Dawson, do you have anything further?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the only thing I would add to what Ms. Bryden has already indicated is that the previous proposal, there was a lot of concerns about traffic. So just given the fact that they've reduced the number of dwelling units from, I think it was 39 to 22, it's basically cut in half, so there won't be as many vehicle trips, which substantially reduces traffic. So that, I think, was accepted more so by the community than the previous proposal.
And probably just to add to that is the garage too, because I remember the parking was going to be a significant thing. So now these townhouses have garages in the front, so that would help with the parking. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shaw. Okay, any further questions for the administration? Okay. Looks like we're good. Madam Clerk, would you call the vote, please?
Ms. York?
In favor.
Ms. Wilson?
In favor.
Mr. Aston?
In favor?
Mr. Boykowski?
In favor.
Mr. Dawes?
In favor.
Ms. Hagan?
In favor.
Ms. Moreau?
In favor.
Councillor Shaw?
In favor.
And Councillor Findura.
In favor.
The motion passes unanimously 9-0.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Okay, we'll move into RPC 22-10, Al Ritchie Neighborhood Land Use Plan. I believe we have Jeremy Fenton, Senior City Planner with the City of Regina Planning Department. You will have a power presentation. Okay, so I'm just gonna, while Mr. Fenton is finding his spot, Commission members, I'm just gonna give you a little bit of a note. If you have any questions for Mr. Fenton, please make a note of those questions that you have, and you will be able to ask him after we have heard from the delegation. So Mr. Fenton will present. He will, there's a PowerPoint. After that, we will go into the delegation, and after that, we'll move into the looking at the agenda item, and questions will come from there. So make notes, and you can be able to ask them then. Okay, Mr. Fenton, how much time do you need?
5 minutes.
5 minutes is good?
5 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the Commission, my name is Jeremy Fenton. I'm a Senior City Planner in the Department of Planning and Development Services. So I'm just going to go through a fairly quick presentation and overview of the proposed Al Ritchie Neighborhood Land Use Plan. So just a brief background to this plan. It's part of a larger program that was authorized by a committee of council back in 2019. And essentially, the goal is to prepare new neighborhood plans for 30 community areas over the next 10 years or so. These community areas correspond to community association boundaries. And Al Ritchie is the first and a bit of a pilot project for this program. So, question, why the neighborhood plans now? Well, the need was identified through the process to develop the new zoning bylaw, which was approved in 2019. Through that, there was lots of discussion with community associations and residents, and through that determined that these neighborhood plans could be beneficial in helping to direct how the zoning bylaw is implemented in a community or neighborhood basis. Also, of course, through the OCP, there is a goal to increase the city's population to 300,000 by 2040. So these neighborhood plans will be important for directing intensification, while at the same time respecting community character. So the focus of these neighborhood plans is on land use and build form, and they will form part of the Design Regina Official Community Plan as Part B. And just to explain land use and build form, of course, land use is how land is used. In the neighborhood plans, it's at a higher level than the zoning bylaw, although it does direct how the zoning bylaw is implemented. And build form is essentially the design massing, the form design, and potentially, although not in this case, the architectural design of development. One question that we do receive is, what about city services? So streets, utilities, and soft services like fire, policing, and recreation. These are not addressed in the neighborhood land use plans. These are dealt with through the various master plans that the city has adopted. All of these master plans are relatively new over the last 5 years. And of course, we have them for all of the servicing elements from water, wastewater, transportation master plan, recreation master plan, culture plan, et cetera. So just to move on to the El Ritchie neighborhood plan itself, again, the boundaries follow the community association as shown in the image above, or your computer. In terms of how it is comprised today in terms of its land use and demographics, it's primarily a low-density residential neighborhood, although it is bound by Victoria Avenue to the north, which is an urban corridor. There's pockets of local commercial on College Avenue, and there are pockets of medium and higher density throughout, as well as schools, parks, et cetera. Again, very much a low-density neighborhood. Single detached homes comprise roughly 70% of the residential dwelling types in the El Ritchie area. It is a neighborhood experiencing change between the 2011-2016 census periods. It's grown by 6.3%. And over the last 10 years, or between 2010 and 2019, roughly 90 infill developments have occurred. One of the faster growing neighborhoods in the city, in fact. Before we talk about some of the proposed policy, just a quick overview of the public engagement. 3 public engagement events, the first in November 2019. This was a project kickoff, idea sharing and visioning. It was actually an in-house pre-COVID style of open house event. The second event was in January 2021. There was a delay for this project due to COVID. COVID emerged partly through the process, and of course we had to reconsider methodology of engaging the public. So hence the delay. So yeah, the second engagement was to review the draft planning concepts, and we had a good turnout for the first 2. The third public event was a release of the draft neighborhood plan online and an opportunity for the community to review and provide comments, and that happened in September of last year. So just a quick overview of what we heard from the public. Overwhelming desire to retain the existing character, primarily low density, the walkability, the local shops on College Avenue, a real fondness for the original traditional homes and dwellings in the neighborhood, in the mature tree canopy, and the park system. There was a general acceptance for modest intensification next to nodes and corridors. That was generally recognized by most participants as acceptable areas for directing intensification and growth along your transit corridors and your existing nodes of higher density. And a desire to potentially introduce some more shops on College Avenue, but not a lot, just to incrementally grow those local commercial nodes. Desire for a grocery store. Matters of concern, on the other hand, really focused on infill and intensification. Major intensification was not desired, and some issues with the nature and compatibility of infill development and how it's compatible with the existing mature traditional build form pattern. And outside of the scope of the neighborhood plan, there were concerns for such issues as property maintenance, crime safety, the condition of streets and sidewalks, and the capacity of the sewer system. Again, those items were noted as concern, but they are beyond the scope of the neighborhood plan. So moving on towards what the neighborhood plan is proposing, really what we're talking about is modest or incremental, or the term we use often is gentle intensification and change. So this plan essentially is what it's indicating is that most of the areas are intended to stay as status quo. So this is your low density. When we talk about low density in El Richie, it also includes duplex dwellings in addition to single detached. So that's within the low density category, so it's not all single detached. And as you'll see in the colored areas, some modest and incremental intensification along Victoria Avenue. And there's an area along the east side of College Avenue where there's existing medium and high density, and that is tended to grow and expand a little bit. In terms of the commercial or mixed use strategy, it's really building on the existing nodes along College Avenue. And there's actually a node in the area just to the east of Park Street and along, of course, Victoria Avenue. Just focusing on Victoria Avenue itself, there is policy prohibiting certain types of, quote, auto-oriented land use, and the neighborhood plan does recognize this segment of Victoria Avenue as a gateway to the downtown. So it's prohibiting some uses that are better suited further east. And there was quite a lot of interest expressed amongst the residents regarding the Assiniboia and Arnhem Place historic subdivisions and a real desire to give them a bit of a special treatment and have special policy that protects the existing traditional character much more so than the balance of the neighborhood. So we do have policy in the neighborhood plan that requires development to be more modestly scaled. So the main floor being closer to the ground level, smaller build form, smaller height, and the depth and length of the building being more modest and compatible with the traditional building style. So this image on the screen just shows the complete land use strategy. So this is the future land use concept. And you can see primarily residential, although opportunities for intensification along the corridors, expansion of the commercial along College Avenue incrementally, but more or less maintaining the existing character while allowing for some incremental expansion. This neighborhood plan is also unique by including a height strategy, and this is a really important factor and consideration for the residents. So it's really a methodology or tactic for controlling infill development, ensuring that it's better integrated with what's there today. So most of the area is currently under the residential infill development overlay zone, which would typically allow for residential building height, single detached building height to be up to 8.5 meters. There's a strong desire amongst the community to reduce that to 7.5 meters. So that's the blue color shown on the image on the screen. But what you'll see overall as a general pattern is a reduction of height from Victoria Avenue south towards Wascana Park, going from essentially 20 meters along Victoria Avenue, dropping to 11 to 8.5 to 7.5, then actually even 6.5 around the Arnhem Place subdivision. The Arnhem Place subdivision in particular has interesting history in association with World War II. It also has a lot of what's called the veteran or wartime homes that were built for returning veterans after World War II. And so what you'll find is disproportionate amount of even smaller homes in that area around Holland Park and within the Arnhem Place subdivision. So actually reduce the height even a bit further to accommodate that character. And that more or less summarizes it. So thank you.
Mr. Fenton, thank you very much. So if I can just ask you to go grab a chair, and then we'll continue, and then we'll bring you up to either the delegation or any of the microphones if there's any questions, or right there is just as good. Go ahead. Yep, perfect. Okay, we have a delegation in person. Angela L., if you could just please come to the delegation desk here. I'm going to get you the microphone. I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself.
Okay.
Who you represent for the record. Introduce yourself. Who you represent for the record, if any, and where you're calling from. So that you have to say Regina, I guess.
Yes.
You'll have 5 minutes. Afterwards, the commission may have a question for you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. My name is Angela L. I am a board member of the Alberti Community Association. So I am representing the Alberti community and board members that were not able to be here today also. So I'm on my own. So sorry, I'm really nervous. So
Okay.
I hope that I can come across as kind of what we're here. So I think I'm going to kind of wing it now a little bit because like the Alberti, like the board is, we like the neighborhood plan, right? But now we've been given variance provision in the zoning bylaw, which is a 10% variance. So basically this is in relation to the Assiniboia Place and to Arnhem. Now, this bylaw that does not conform to the necessary standards and regulations to facilitate the goals and policies of ARCA's neighborhood plan in relation to Assiniboia Place and Arnhem Place. So regulating maximum height to 7.5 meters was one of the main goals for ARCA's neighborhood plan. Allowing this variance takes us to 8.3 meters, which is only 8 inches shy of the past maximum height of 8.5 meters, so there is virtually no change. The primary negative impacts for allowing this variance on the El Rich neighborhood plan and its residents are, we just wanted to point out a few things, that it does create a negative financial impact on the city. It creates a negative environmental impact on the city, and there's just little discrepancies with your OCP policy strategy and neighborhood plan policy. This is from the observation of demolition to existing new builds. So you have a barrage of large bulldozers, front-end loaders, gravel trucks, bobcats, semis delivering. So this heavy equipment is very, very damaging to the sidewalks, the roads, and the underground pipes. And the infrastructure is very old, and it cannot withstand this abuse from the heavy equipment. And so, question, what has been the cost of repairs in relation to sewers, water mains, sidewalks, and roads to the city since Innsville started, probably about 2016? We're assuming that's when it kind of started. And what is the profit for the city in comparison to the cost of the city spends on repairs? Then we want to get into the negative impact on the environment by creating large builds on small lots. The city is currently preparing an energy and sustainability framework, ESF. Another city goal is achieving net zero emissions and sourcing net zero renewable energy by 2015. Encouraging the development of larger homes, massive towers, homes on small lots does not align with ESF, net zero goals, or lowering greenhouse gas emissions. The destruction of the neighborhood urban forest has a huge impact on the environment, and I'll give you an example. On 2776 Atkinson Street, 13 trees were demolished or destroyed to put up 2 houses on that lot. I have personally witnessed clear cutting on several lots for infill. Also beside me, when infill came in, 2 beautiful, very mature trees were also destroyed to put in, and they did not have to go. A lot of these trees do not have to go. So it's a big impact on the environment in that sense for our urban forests. Also, these infills, when they do demolition, they result in contamination on neighboring properties and in the landfill from asbestos upon demolition. Myself and my husband were exposed to asbestos from the demolition next door. We collected samples, had it tested, and the results exceeded the legal limits. So why is there not a bylaw for proper inspection and removal of hazardous waste from residential demolition? That is our question also. The OCP policy strategy, the compatibility, what is being proposed with the larger infills, particularly with the variance allowance attached to the bylaw, is not compatible with either existing built form or servicing capacity. Allowing 8.3 meter height does not comply with compatibility in the OCP. The negative impact 8.3 meter building has on 6.5 meter building. It encroaches on your privacy, creates inability for smaller homes or garage to have rooftop solar panels, and it diminishes your green space. And when we talk about intensification target, El Richie has the highest population density in all of the city, therefore should not be expected to take on any burden of the OCP's goal to have 30% of the new population housing. Other areas with larger lots, smaller families need to shoulder this burden by increasing their own population density before any neighborhood like the El Richie, which is not as affluent, should not be expected to respond formally to this housing need. This is efficient servicing. As was pointed out by the El Richie Community Association and the community in the survey conducted by ARCA during the neighborhood planning, now called land use meeting, our infrastructure is already at capacity and urgent need of upgrades before any intensifying of infill would be considered. Water main breaks plague the neighborhood, rank toxic sewer smells emanate throughout the neighborhood all year round, and the roads and sidewalks are in terrible neglect of repair. Furthermore, as we are not allowed to bring infrastructure into the neighborhood plan, it is inappropriate for it to be used in the defense of the plan. El Richie is already a highly diverse neighborhood, particularly in comparison to more affluent areas in the city. Well, the point made in the plan is at best mute. We get the diversity because we are an affordable neighborhood with small homes and small yards. New populations to Regina that move to El Richie cannot afford the large infill homes, and there isn't the land space to build small townhouses or multi-unit homes that are not towers. We feel that given the unique circumstances of the El Richie community, the small lots and wartime houses, the aged infrastructure, that it should be exempt from that additional component of the 10% variance portion of the bylaw.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Allen. Okay. Any questions from the Commission for the delegation? Okay. Ms. York, go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm just wondering, were these concerns raised at your meetings? Because you mentioned that overall the neighborhood plan looks good, but there are some very specific pieces that are of concern, particularly for certain parts of the subdivision. So were those discussed with the people from the city as you were going through this process?
Ms. Allen, go ahead.
Yes, they've been discussed. And so we thought we had a win with the 7.5, and then the provision for this 10% variance allowance, then that kind of put the kibosh on everything again. So we're very concerned that we want to stay within what Jeremy has pointed out with the certain areas that there will be the larger builds, and then slowly as you come south of College Avenue, it's going to get smaller. So we thought we had the 7.5 and the 6.5 as our win, so to speak, and now with this 10% variance, that has caused the concern all over again. And we're just trying to just point out the impacts of having these large infills on a small lot.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. York, thank you. Any further question for the delegation? Looks like we're good.
Okay.
So thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for
Sorry,
your time.
I know I was really nervous to get up blah, 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 a little bit, but all in all, thank you for listening.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Thank you for presenting, coming over, taking your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. So you
All
may
right.
return back into the gallery.
All right,
You can
thank
stay,
you.
listen, or you could,
Okay, thank you.
whichever. It's up to
Okay.
you. Thank you. Okay. We're just going to go, if I could get someone to just put the report on the table. Councilor Shaw, thank you very much. So we're just going to go straight into questions. So going to open her up from the commission, questions for the administration. And we'll direct who's going to answer what. You need a microphone? Okay, that would help. Councilor Shaw, go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair, I just have some questions, some clarity here. We talked about intensification and how this project, you're really not in, I mean, from the looks of it, there's not a lot of intensification within this design. Can you address some of the concerns? I mean, I look at other neighborhoods in Regina and think there's so much more, you know, intensity, and I'm not understanding why with such a small percent of intensity in this area. I mean, this is impacting us financially. This impacts the city all financially, our taxes and everything like that increase with more density. And I don't understand why there isn't as much density as, say, other neighborhoods, and why the complaints from the community have come forward when we look at the project, and there's only a little bit of a density. So I don't know, can you speak to that as to comparing it to other areas in the city, through the chair?
So who do we go to? Okay. I think I have three. Ms. Dawson, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair, would it help if Ms. Bryden went through an introduction to the report that kind of provides our process that we went through in terms of the neighborhood planning program? This is our first neighborhood plan within that program, so maybe that may help set kind of the framework of where we're at with the plan. And then through you, Mr. Chair, we can address the intensification question and you know, where we are targeting some of those types of discussions. Would that help?
Yep.
Yeah, Ms. Dawson, very good comments. Yeah, absolutely. And so, Ms. Bryden,
Thank you.
You got the
through
floor.
chair.
Go ahead.
So administration is really pleased to present the proposed Al Ritchie Neighborhood Land Use Plan. This plan will serve as a policy framework for guiding the type, location, and design of new development in the Al Ritchie neighborhood. Specifically, it will provide clarity to residents and developers in terms of how the neighborhood is intended to evolve, and will serve as a decision tool for administration and council when they are considering development and zoning bylaw applications. Preparation of this land use plan occurred over a 2-year period, including interruptions associated with the COVID-19 pandemic, and this process has included 3 public engagement events and ongoing dialogue with the Al Ritchie Community Association. Major considerations that informed this land use plan include Design Regina, the OCP, especially objectives related to intensification and complete neighborhoods, resident aspirations, and the nature of the neighborhood itself in terms of its location and character. This is the first neighborhood plan for the Al Ritchie community. This is the first land use plan associated with a program to develop new neighborhoods, land use plans for over 30 communities that are located in the identified intensification area of the city. As these communities are intended to absorb new population growth, these land use plans will help ensure that new development is complementary and compatible with the area. Thank you for considering this report. and our team would be available to address all of the questions, including the intensity conversation Ms. Dawson referred to.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ms. Dawson?
Okay, good. Looks like I wanted to get out of here, go home for supper. Okay, so Dr. Shaw, do you have more? Anyone to answer that, or
Yeah, Autumn's going to answer it.
Ms. Bryden, do you want to?
Ms. Dawson.
Yeah.
Okay. Dustin, go ahead.
Yeah, so through you, I'll start, and then if we haven't hit the question through you, Mr. Chair, maybe we'll just have a bit more conversation about that. So I believe what I understood is a question about intensification and why here, as opposed to other areas. So without a land use plan or a framework for how the community is going to develop, applications come in on a case-by-case basis, and we interpret those applications based on zoning bylaw and overall OCP policy, which can be quite high level. A neighborhood plan allows for more direct policy for a specific neighborhood and looks at where it may be appropriate to intensify development, and in this case would be, in those areas that was shown in the presentation along some of the key corridors, intensifying already existing commercial development, and then looking at some residential areas that may be able to serve medium or high density residential development. So there's some slight tweaks in policy, and it serves as a guiding document for when we get development applications, or when investors are looking at certain areas and understanding what policy framework is applicable to an area. So that's the purpose of the neighborhood plan. There's not a proposal tied with this, but this is a framework that helps guide our decision-making process in the future should we get applications for those areas, and it's supported generally by the community.
Mr. Shaw?
Well, and I'd like the question kind of addressed when we're talking about environmental impact, and is not density a good thing for the environment? I mean, all you're asking is to build, am I saying one more story high around that? I mean, isn't that good? Through the chair?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'll take that one. Council will have, an opportunity to review the energy and sustainability framework in the coming weeks and months. But generally, the official community plan does have policies that guide decisions that are sustainable and will help the community grow into the future in a sustainable manner. There is direction to intensify and increase density in certain areas so that city infrastructure can be fully utilized. It promotes complete communities in terms of people walking to work or walking to commercial areas. So generally speaking, yes, there is a connection between increase in density and sustainability for those purposes.
Thank you, Ms. Dawson. That's all I have.
Sure, thank you very much. Ms. York, go ahead.
Yes, I'm wondering if, through you, Mr. Chair, if someone can speak to this 10% variance. I'd like that explained, if you don't mind. Thank you.
Where do we go to?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I can help guide the commission members through that. So in general, minor variance provisions provides an opportunity to consider modest variations in otherwise fixed development standards. So we have set criteria for height limits or setbacks, and there is opportunity supported through provincial legislation and our current zoning bylaw to allow for variances. In some situations, this may make sense for design considerations and other minor tweaks that may need to occur to allow for some flexibility in those aspects. So when we consider a minor variance, we only are able to consider up to a maximum of 10% variance. So for an example, on a 7.5 meter height limit, this would allow an opportunity for the designer or the builder to contemplate, some design aspects that would go above that that maximum height. So this isn't a given, there's an application process that goes with it. The variation must not injuriously affect neighboring properties. So what that means is owners of land adjoining the property do receive notice of any request to go above the height limit through this minor variance process. And they can, after receipt of notice, submit a written objection, say that they're going to be impacted by that, that provision. If the adjoining landowner does object, the approval is deemed to be revoked. The person that's applying for that variance can make an application to the Development Appeals Board, who would then consider that. So, for example, within our residential infill overlay district right now, we have 8.5 meters as a height maximum. If somebody chose to have a design of their home that was above that to a maximum of 10%, they would go through this process. We don't see very many of these types of applications, and you know, if they are provided, there's even fewer of them that are appealed. So it's important to note that a minor variance for height and setbacks are available for all neighborhoods in the city, and like I said, they typically allow for flexibility and design consideration. So we did feel that it was important to have this still available to all neighborhoods within the city to ensure that there wasn't a patchwork of regulatory procedures within the city. So, you know, it's available to some neighborhoods but not others. So for consistency purposes, we included it in this plan. But that process is very rigid, and there's an application process and an appeal mechanism included with that. So I hope that provides some clarity on what that provision looks like.
Thank you very much. Ms. York?
Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions for the administration? No, looks like we're good. So I would like to say thank you very much, Ms. Fenton, for giving us the bigger picture, and administration steering us in the direction. So this has been coming for a while, and like I said, it's the first. So it's a pilot project. We're figuring out how to go forward. So this is good. It's a good thing to see. I've been waiting for this for quite a while. There's other neighborhoods need this kind of a robust work to be done to it. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much. No further questions, Madam Clerk. If I call the vote, please.
Mr. Aston?
In favor?
Mr. Boykovsky?
In favor.
Mr. Dawes?
In favor.
Ms. Moreau?
In favor.
Ms. York?
In favor.
Ms. Wilson?
In favor.
Councillor Shaw?
In favor.
Councillor Pinjura?
In favor.
The motion passes unanimously, 8-0.
Thank you very much. And one more. So we will look into RPC 22-11. This is our 2021 annual report. We'll go straight into, this is a receive and file. So could I have someone to move the recommendation for receive and file? Councillor Shaw, thank you very much. Is Ms. Turgeon on the line with us? Okay. Ms. Turgeon, could you please introduce the report, please?
Through you, Mr. Chair. This is the annual report for the year 2020 and 2021 for the Civic Naming Commission, or Civic Naming Committee, sorry. We had historic lows applications, with 5 being heard in 2020 and 12 being heard in 2021. This report goes from here to the City Council for celebration.
Okay. Thank you very much. So I'll turn over now to the committee. Any questions for the administration? Councillor Shaw, looks like you got you. There you are. Go ahead.
Thank you. This has been a burning question for me since I got elected and the years before. We have so many amazing people in Regina, many that I know, arts community, our volunteers, nurses, doctors, children, young children that have done some amazing things. I keep wondering why we call streets Green Apple, Green Alley, Greenway, Green this, Green that. Why are we not putting more in, I know, why are we not putting more names of people that have done some amazing things in the city of Regina on the streets so that we can really recognize them and their accomplishments that they've done for our city through the chair.
Okay, Ms. Sturgeon, go ahead.
So through you, Mr. Chair, there's actually usually quite a few people's names that get put through the Civic Naming Committee, but there's a bit of a disconnect between when a name gets approved by our committee and when it actually appears on a street. And so developers have a role in selecting what names go on what streets. We changed our rules in 2018, I believe it was. And so now the city of Regina picks names for collector streets and for major arterials. So you'll see an uptake in the amount of people that are picked for streets like that, so people's names. So a recent example of that would be Anaquad Road, which is where the Costco is. So that was a person rather than a plant or an animal. We also have some language now around using more Indigenous names and using up names that are on the list already, a lot of which are people's names. So I think you're going to see the trend coming now where we're going to see more names of people as opposed to plants or animals. It's just going to take a while because development has to catch up.
Okay, well, that's exciting to hear. I really hope that I'm really tired of 20 green streets. So my next kind of question is, I understand the Indigenous namings, but we do have many different cultures in our community. When are some of those names going to be coming forward? Has that been a topic of discussion through the chair?
Mr. Chin, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair. The names get put forward by people who are looking to recognize individuals. Quite often it's someone's grandchild or, a family member or something. So they do get put forward. The Indigenous names, partly that the goal there is to recognize that, initially we had, I think it was 36 names when we started that were on a street in Regina that had some Indigenous connection. And this is obviously way underrepresenting the role of the Indigenous community in our community. But that said, we are getting more use and recognition for more other individuals. And one of the things we made sure to allow for is that we can allow, more traditional names. We can now allow names in languages other than English, as long as it's got English characters. So there is that opportunity to use something that is, a Ukrainian word or something along those lines. That opportunity does exist. Again, it just has not come forward as of yet in front of our committee. But we are seeing more and more names coming forth that are recognizing the larger diversity of the community of Regina.
Thank you for that. And just a request, is there any way that you can share some of that information with us council members, or at least myself, because I'm not aware of kind of how this is all going? Would that be fine through the chair?
Ms. Sturgeon?
Through you, Mr. Chair, absolutely. I do have some material I can share.
Okay, thank you. I just, I love this city and I want everybody to feel welcome and everybody to be a part of it. And if it's a if, just something small gestures for everybody, I think that would be amazing. And like I said, we have so many people in this city that have done so many amazing things that I really like to recognize them maybe a little bit more than green apples and green oranges. So thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councillor Shaw. Just a reminder, we have a minute or recess. If the committee and members indulge me, we're just going to continue because we're just about at the end here. So if everyone is okay with that, we're just going to continue. This is our last report. So we're just going to go. We okay? All right. Okay. Ms. York, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. This will be quick. I just have a request. Would it be possible to do a pronunciation guide, particularly for the Indigenous names? There are many, and I wouldn't want to get the pronunciations incorrect, so I'm wondering if that could be done. Thank you.
Through
Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair. We actually have that pronunciation identified in our, it's called the CARS database. I just did not include it in the report I gave to you, but it is available in the public data set.
Thank you.
We'll get a copy. We'll get a copy to that to the members. That's okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I can supply that.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Okay, Mr. Austin?
Thank you. Through the chair to the administration, I just have a question. I realized that the Appendix B was probably just provided for our review, and we're not really approving anything. It's just for information. But let's make a friendly comment that in 5.14, it's under specific guidelines for naming streets. It names a number of other parties in the city that do name streets, and it does say other agencies, but I'm wondering if you could consider adding the Regina Airport Authority in there. I worked quite closely on the last streets we named at the airport with the administration, and it was successful, and we researched names that weren't conflicts and whatnot. So, but I just maybe recognize that would be good to solidify as a process going forward for both parties to share those names. So appreciate that consideration. Thanks. That's all I have.
Okay, Ms. Sturgeon, any comments on that or just undertaking?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I will note that for future revision. We, as you said, we have worked with the airport authority. It just seems like every year there's a new agency that's naming its own streets. So that I kind of gave myself wiggle room with that other agencies. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Sturgeon. Are there any questions for the administration on the receive and file of this report? Yeah, Councillor Shaw moved it, yes. Okay, looks like we're good. Ms. Sturgeon, thank you very much for taking the time to call in and answer some of the questions and give us an updated and introducing this report. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. So now we will call the question. Call the vote, Madam Chair. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Aston?
In favor.
Mr. Boykowski?
In favor.
Mr. Dawes?
In favor.
Ms. Moreau?
In favor.
Ms. York?
In favor.
Ms. Wilson?
In favor.
Councillor Shaw?
In favor.
And Councillor Finjera.
In favor.
Motion passes unanimously 8-0.
Thank you very much. Before I say thank you very much for everyone, this is great. See a little bit of a delegation, a little bit in person, no mask. Wow. I can actually see us. We can actually see if their cheeks are going rosy or not and all that good stuff. Could I get someone to call adjournment? Councillor Shaw. Anyone opposed? I don't think so. It's carried. Great work, everyone. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of the day. I think we're going to make it for supper.